Hi, my name is Natasha Wright, and you are tuned in to Event Gems, where I will discuss all things event related and take a deep dive into creating concepts, marketing, and execution for your next biz event. My goal is to bring you industry experts who can help you properly monetize and effectively strategize so that you can make your business shine.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Event Gems. I am your host, Natasha Wright of the Diamond Butterfly, and today I am joined by my wonderful friend, Michelle Talbert. Yay! So please welcome Michelle to the show. I'm so excited to have Michelle on. This is the first time I'm recording in the podcast studio. I feel so professional right now. In the Tyra Banks room here at Her Power Space in Sunrise. So you guys, if you are in South Florida area, please be sure to come check out this space. I'll definitely be posting the address and social media page so you can check it out further. Okay. So Michelle is the founder of Her Power Space, like I said, the Femme Force Fatale leader of Her Power Moves. And she's a recovering attorney. Catch that. And you're trying. Black Enterprise contributing writer and so many other wonderful and amazing things. And so Michelle, thank you for being here. Yay. Super happy to be here. And it's awesome to have her as my first guest here in the podcast studio. Cool. So give us a little bit more background about who are you, what it is that you do. I know it's a lot, but let people know.
Short version,
yes.
Right? Well, one of the most important things I think about me is that I have come to the space where I really love being in the company of women who are trying to build and really create their dreams in real life.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And so the reason I start with that is because that's not where I started, right? Okay. I started in a place like a lot of us where I don't want to work with women. I don't trust women. I'm a girl. I'm a guy's girl. I only hang with guys. And what I found through having relationships with people like you, like Natasha has been an incredible force for good in my life for like 6-7 years at this point. Because we met online first.
Yes.
And so creating the community and really finding out, like when you make those heart connections and you really care about making sure that we all win, that it's really the buy-in is there. And so I start by saying that because I think it's really important for us to know that if we are going to go far, we need to go together.
Yes, exactly.
So I moved down to South Florida 5 years ago. And you were already waiting for me to get here because you have been following the podcast.
Exactly.
We had the Her Power Hustle podcast and just really trying to find ways to help women entrepreneurs build their businesses. And by using the podcast and creating the online community, Assist the Power Hustlers, the OGs, we really were able to say, how can I help you? How can I serve you? And how can I make money too? So when I got here, I noticed that a lot of us were going from Broward to 30, 40 miles away to Miami.
That long drive.
Yes. To get really great information. And I was like, why are we, like, you live in our neighborhood in Broward and you live in this neighborhood in Broward, but we're all 30, 40 miles away because we were craving information. And it just hit me like, let's start Her Power Moves Broward, where we have monthly events, where we come together, where we give shine to each other's businesses and we connect and we grow. Awesome. And we launched that in 2018 and we've been going ever since.
Yeah. So Michelle mentioned how we even got connected in the first place. So when I just started or decided that I wanted to listen to this thing called podcast because I heard about it, wasn't really sure what the medium was, what the information was that was being shared. That was a couple of years ago. And so I specifically sought out Black women who had podcasts. And so when I was searching through, just going through, some of the other business or marketing related podcasts, I saw Michelle's podcast and I was like, okay, Her Power, what was it called?
Her Power Hustle.
Her Power Hustle. I was like, oh, okay, I need to hustle a little bit more. I need some more power.
I'm a her.
Yeah. I'm a her. This is speaking to me. So let me just go ahead and listen to the information. And it was an awesome podcast. Like she had such amazing guests on, and she has a great way of just pulling out information with people that I really liked and appreciated. And so from there, I ended up joining her Facebook group, right? And so stay connected there. And then, when there was an opportunity, I kind of asked opportunity or I was actually looking for someone at the time to speak specifically about an issue. And so I posted it in the group. And because of how supportive that group is, like, one of the members, they rallied behind it, was like, hey, like, I know who you could talk to. You could talk to Michelle. And so that's how we ended up actually meeting in person. And since then have been able to do some other amazing things together. And so I'm just so happy and blessed to be connected to you in the space and everything that you do. So talk about, so one of your signature talks is Hustle,
Sparkle
Online,
Hustle Offline.
Sparkle Online, Hustle Offline. Okay. And I think that she is the queen or the quintessential person to talk about this because Michelle is awesome and amazing at making connections and forging relationships with other people. But she constantly shows up online. So, online is like you're like vying for people's attention. You're vying for people to know about you and what you have to offer. And so I think that she does that so well. And, that helps to build her community. So talk to us about hustling.
Sparkling online. Sparkling.
Yeah, we're gonna get to the spark. Yeah, we're sparkling right now online. Okay, in the Tyra Banks podcasting studio. But since this is Event Gems, I want to talk specifically about hustling offline first, and how do you really network or make that connections. Make those connections when you're at events, because I think that's important for us to grow our business, right, and our tribe.
Well, you mentioned that I'm a recovering attorney.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So that's really where I got bitten by the bug, because we have to do something called rainmaking, right?
Okay.
Which is building business, going out and developing business, which is what all people in business do. I mean, the reality is you have to sell.
Yeah.
If you're not selling, then you have a hobby.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
So I would go to these breakfasts and events and meet really interesting people to find out where they might have a pain point or need some legal service and bring that work back to the company, bring that back to the law firm. And I loved it. But I enjoyed the meeting of the people, the learning their stories, finding out what they needed more than I love coming back and doing the work in the office. Right? Gotcha. So the partners were like, Michelle, you kind of junior. That's not really
you're out there too much
work.
now.
Yeah, girl, if you don't sit yourself down.
Rainmaking, we're going to wrangle you in.
Exactly. But that was 15 years ago that I realized that that's a passion of mine. So in leaving the law, or trying to leave the law as much as possible, I realized that those same skills were able to be used for business building and business development, right? Because it's all sales. It's all about making connections. But what I found was that so many people go to networking events with the idea that I'm going to meet as many people as possible. I'm going to give my card to as many people as possible, and really don't really have a strategic plan for what they're really going for. Like, why are you actually even in the room? Let's start there. Like, is this a place because you need marketing? Is this a place because you need customers? Everyone says they need customers, but sometimes you actually need a strategic partner. And so to think strategically and intentionally before you even show up in the room as to why you're there. Right. And then say, okay, I am successful if I find 2 people who do X. Right. Right. And you connect with them. And that takes a lot of pressure off of you. Right.
Because you don't have to talk to everybody in the room or give everybody in the room your card or information.
Exactly. And you can make really great connections and then follow up when you get back home to your office and say, oh, it was great chatting with you. Here's an article about what we spoke about. And those are ways to show up and hustle. Right. Because it's not about a grind or a quick hustle. It's really about being strategic. The hustle is a strategy.
Right.
That's really what it is.
So it's like, how are you creating those long-term relationships too? Like nurturing those relationships.
Exactly. Because
that's
everybody
good.
says you do business with people who you know, like, and trust.
That's so true.
I can't get to know you or like you or trust you if all you do is hand me your business card and walk away. Actually, I don't like you. I don't like when people just hand me their business card and walk away.
Yeah, that makes sense. Right? It's funny because for me, I know that when I initially started my business, everywhere I went, every networking event that I went to, I was handing out my card to every and anybody. And that was a year that I really made no money.
Yes.
Okay. My first client actually came from a referral. It wasn't even from someone who I had given my business card to. And then the first year, I think I went through my box of business cards like really quickly. Second year, I was like, all right, I need to be more strategic about this and really trying to connect with people on a deeper level, like you're saying. Hadn't really mastered it. Second year, third year, I think is when I started to kind of like really get in my groove. And it was more so, all right, well, let me actually get your number. Let me get your email and I'll follow up with you right now. So I think that that's a really good point. And that's why I love what you did with the unnetworking events. Because Michelle was like, all right, well, you guys are over here networking, but that's not working. It's not working. It's not an effective way to go about making connections and really making business deals. So you came up with the unnetworking events. And so that was how you came from sparkling online and hustling offline, right? So talk to us about that.
Absolutely. I'm glad you brought that up because as you were talking, I was like, this is just unnetworking 101 for sure.
Right.
And what unnetworking is a way that I've devised to make connections quickly in a very short period of time, but yet make an impression and get great information back so that you can then take that information and leverage in a good way with ethics the relationship that you've just created and nurture that. And so what that looks like offline when we're hustling is that I come up to you, we chat. I don't say, what do you do? I say, what brought you out today? What was it about this event that was of interest to you? I really want to know something deeper about you than what you do.
Right,
because
exactly.
Especially for some people, what they do is not really what they love.
Right, that's a good point.
So that's a loaded question sometimes. And sometimes you even see people get a little put off guard when you say, what do you do? Right? So what does that mean? Yeah. You're putting me on guard. And then judging me.
Exactly. I was just going to say, there's some judgment that comes along with that sometimes too.
Of course. So I love to say, what brings you out today? What made you come out today? What was it? Is there a particular speaker you're interested in? You know, you can really carve that in a really nice way depending on the environment that you're in. And then they answer. And then you start to get a feel for what they're looking for, what their needs are, what their desires are. And then you have a conversation. And people say, I hate small talk. And I say, talk does not have to be long to be deep.
Yeah.
You can really
that's
make a
good.
nice connection, right?
Repeat that. It's like snap, repeat that.
Talk does not have to be long to be deep. Because I don't want to be held hostage in the corner,
exactly.
Right?
And you're like, oh my God, how do I exit this conversation? I don't know how to get out of it.
Which I actually do teach people how to do that, how you extricate yourself from one of those people who like, especially with introverts.
Yeah. You're like, okay, I'm done. I gotta go. But I can't get out of this. Yeah.
But even as an introvert, this is one of the things I love to tell introverts is that to feel successful so that you can take some pressure off of yourself is to set 1 or 2, 3 tops goals. And when you hit those 3 goals, leave.
Okay.
If you're uncomfortable in the space, you've achieved what you came to do. You don't really
There's no
need
reason
to
for you to be
linger.
in it. Yeah, exactly.
Because when you don't show up authentically, when you're uncomfortable, it resonates. People can tell you're uncomfortable. Right? People can tell when you're desperate for sales. People can tell when you're uncomfortable or not showing up as yourself. And so really unnetworking is about creating relationships and then nurturing those relationships because you can meet in person and then there's like, first thing you say, what's your Instagram name? So you continue that relationship online.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's what I like about on networking is that it allows you to have like a more authentic connection with people. Because one of the things that you do is like, what do you have and what do you need? And so that allows you to be easily able to identify, well, that person has what I have or I have what they need, so I can just like beeline for them as opposed to, going around the room and talking to all these people who aren't necessarily aligned with where I'm trying to go or what it is that I'm trying to do or what it is that I need, right? So I really love that. And then so you really created this community of women here in Broward County with the On Networking event where women are really feeling like, okay, I could show up as myself.
Yes, absolutely.
If I want to, however I want to show up, I will not be judged. Whatever it is that I do, I will not be judged for it. But I'm being seen as my possibility, as like who I want to be and what I want to do. And then there's a community that like really rises up to like support you in that mission. And so it allows you to accelerate and go further, like you said before, right? But it seems like out of you doing these on networking events that you now you're listening to the women who are attending,
Yes.
and now you open up a co-working space. So talk to me about that transition, right? Because I think that's so important, how Michelle transitioned from doing the unnetworking event to now opening up a brick and mortar space, and how that event like led her to now be in this place that she is. So talk to us about how you made that transition.
Absolutely. And it's funny because absolutely one of the worst pieces of advice that I never took was, no, you don't want to open a brick and mortar. Everybody does business online.
Wow.
Right? And we're doing great. We just celebrated a month, and
Woo,
it's great. And it's going really well.
Yeah.
So super excited about that. The community has really shown up.
Yeah.
And exactly what you're saying, Natasha, in terms of building a community of people, but using other people's spaces was a bit of a pain point. And so for some of your viewers and listeners who actually do workshops and educational events and are constantly looking, event gems, right? You are always seeking out venues that are appropriate for your clients to have the type of experience that they want to have.
Right, exactly.
And after 16 months of really being nomads around the county, it really got to the place where it was like, you know what? We really need a home. We actually need a home. We need a place that we can say, this is cemented. This is where we do our unnetworking events. But not only that, where we can actually take the community further and deeper because we can reach more people who now say, I want to have my events there as well.
Right, exactly.
So it's a way to expand the community so that we have the co-working spaces, but we also have the rooms where you can rent and do your podcast or your video or make your deals at the Janice Howard room or the conference room.
Right.
And so it really grew out of both my own pain point, hoping that other people not necessarily had a pain point, but at least would show up. And they have in droves. And so many people say the same thing. It's so hard to find a good venue. And that's when I'm like, you need to call Natasha.
Yep. So call me if you need an event manager. Okay. So hello, we're plugging each other here.
Yeah, that's right.
That's awesome. But I think, and one of the things too that I notice is that people don't leave, so they feel like it's home. Yeah. So talk about creating that experience for people where they feel like they're at home, and how can people do that with their own events? How have you been able to do that with your unnetworking events? How have you been able to do that, with hosting events here to really allow people to feel like, okay, Michelle is home, Michelle's space is home, Michelle's event is home. I think that that's so important to be able to translate that emotional connection.
So I guess there's two parts to the question. So before we actually got our own speaks, to be able to create home, I mentioned the introverts. And one of the things that we do in all of our spaces, as you know, is that we have a Her Power Down section. And what that does is it enables our attendees who feel like they're introverts. They get a little bit overwhelmed when they're in crowds, but still want to be there because they know it's good for their business, can sit off to the side and have a place where they're still part of the room. No one's going to say, are you okay? Is that, or any of that. No one's allowed to ask them anything. They can just recharge their batteries. And we have loads of women who self-identify in our group as introverts. Yet in almost 2 years now, August makes 2 years. In 2 years, no one has ever sat in that seat except to talk to each other, right? So I say that because that is an idea that grew out of me wanting to make sure that people felt comfortable and at home. But then they didn't need it. Right. So I guess the way to look at that is that because I know it's there, I feel more comfortable. Like when you're teaching your kid how to ride a bike and they think mommy or daddy is still holding on to the bike and they go and they go and they're going really fast and mommy and daddy let go a long time ago. But they just feel that comfortable knowing somebody's there who cares. And so for me, even when we were nomadic, it was important for me to have our gold chocolate coins on the table to symbolize prosperity. There were things that we did that created an environment that people could come to expect. And then they knew who showed up in the room were going to be people of high quality, people who cared, people who were generous of spirit. And so then that translated into the space with bringing those pieces that we did nomadically. And now in the space with the help of Enid Olasco of Raw Made.
Shout out to Enid.
Yes, Enid is
amazing
so
job.
great in branding. This was her first brick and mortar branding opportunity to curate a space. And I'm a lover of interior design. So the two of us came together like wonder to twins, and really said, what does this space need to feel? How does it need to feel? How can people excel and still feel comfortable and at home wherever they are in their business journey? And that's kind of how that all kind of bubbled up to the surface and became her power space.
So what I really heard you say is, how can you utilize different design elements?
Yes.
How can you utilize areas within your event that allows people to experience the event in like a multi-sensory way, right? So it's like you're hearing the content, but you know that, okay, I could go sit off to the side if I'm an introvert and not necessarily interact with people if I want. So I feel comfortable enough to be here, because if I need that moment, then I have that moment. But also like bringing in those different elements, like here in the space, there's a lot of elements, design elements that say think outside the box or we all win. So those types of ideas, in a similar way we were talking about with the coins, it's like, it's allowing you to think about, it's allowing you to like break through,
and be expansive in your thinking.
Exactly. And be more expansive. Exactly.
And also there's a sense of familiarity. You know, if you come to one of my events, there are certain things that you're going to see. And that's what home is, isn't it?
Right.
Isn't it that place that wraps us up and, as Oprah says, rises up to greet us? But it really wraps us in a hug, and it's a place where we have our creature comforts.
Right.
Because again, remember, you can't show up authentically if you're not comfortable.
Yeah. That's a great point. That's a great point. So I love that. I really love that. So I think if there is nothing else that you take away from this conversation, then I think that that's one of the most important things to take away, is how can you make people more comfortable and make them feel, or make them be able to show up more authentically at an event or at a space that you're open up to them, right? So I think that with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and let Michelle share one last gem. It could be anything that you think that people need to be mindful of, or you think that could help people who are listening or viewing right now.
I often say your vibe attracts your tribe. I heard someone else say recently, your vibe creates your tribe. And so in the event space, think about who you want to attract and think about what you want to create when they arrive. And if you can do those two things, they will show up. Yeah. Right. And so use online methods, offline methods, and really allow people to be, capital B-E, right? Yes. Joyce Meyer always says, you are not human doings, you are human beings.
Yes,
Let
I love
people
that.
show up as they are. And, but you create that environment, and your events will sell out all the time. You will have people knocking down your door waiting for the next event.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much, Michelle, for joining me on another episode of Event Gems. This was so good. Really, really great information. And I am so happy and honored to have you as my first guest in the Tyra Banks studio. Okay. I just love that it's a Tyra Banks studio. So yes, thank you so much for listening and for watching. You can follow me online and stay connected at Event Gems on Instagram, or you can follow me at The Diamond Butterfly on Instagram and Facebook as well. So Michelle, let people know how they can follow you and stay connected with you online.
Absolutely. We are on Instagram and Facebook as Her Power Space, which is our community here in Sunrise and Broward County, Florida. And you can find us everywhere as Her Power Moves. We are everywhere: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, everywhere. So we look forward to connecting with you online or off.
Okay, until next time. See you soon. Bye.